I was traveling for work recently and I came across this billboard in the Philadelphia airport, which featured a photo of my friend Chris. Long before I got started in video production, I was a creative director and staff photographer for several action sports publications. And over the years, I've had the opportunity to travel pretty extensively to produce content for the magazines. I've worked with professional athletes and have shot lots of covers and feature stories. While on assignment, I would often travel with my good friend Dave, who is an award-winning journalist, which I talked about briefly in this video here. But that's him there, and that's me in the back. But going back to my friend Chris, he's a well-known figure in the kayak fishing community and has spent the past 3 decades as a guide, instructor, and competitor. Many of his kayak fishing achievements have been televised on popular networks like the Discovery Channel. He spends half the year in Alaska as a professional outdoor adventure guide. And one summer, Dave and I spent some time with him while on assignment for one of the magazines that we work for. The trip yielded some great images, which were used in a feature story for that year's winter edition. And after our time there, Animal Planet reached out to me to license a few clips that I had shot during the trip. I've been fortunate to travel to Alaska several times, along with many other places for assignments, and have had much of my work featured in places like Outside Magazine, Men's Journal, and National Geographic. Check the description down below, which links to a story about our trip with Chris, if you're interested in seeing more. I'm sitting on a large archive of work, so let me know in the comments if you find this kind of stuff interesting, and maybe I'll include more of my travels and past work in upcoming videos. My hope is that you'll pick up some helpful tips along the way as you get to see my approach to production as I work day in and day out on a wide mix of projects. And at the very least, I hope you find these videos at least somewhat entertaining. If you're new here, thanks for tuning in. My name is Robert, and I've been a creative professional for over 20 years. And here on the channel, I share my unique perspective and experiences that I've gained over the years from holding multiple roles and having worn many hats throughout the course of my career. I'd love to build a community here on the channel and get these kinds of videos in front of more aspiring video professionals. So if you've been enjoying this video or any of the others I've put out so far, give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing if you haven't already. It really goes a long way in helping the channel reach others who are working in the field or who are also interested in this kinds of content. If you've seen any of my past videos, you know that my wife Nicole is a producer, and we've been running our own production business for more than a decade. Prior to that, she had experience working at a large production company in Hollywood. And I got my start many years ago as a graphic designer and a photographer, working for a mix of advertising and marketing agencies. So although it's just the two of us, we handle everything from pre to post-production, and we often crew up or slim down our approach to accommodate a client's needs depending on their budget. With that said, let's move on and jump right into what this video is all about. Today we're talking about a commercial we produced, which was featured on the Golf Channel. So as usual, Nicole ran point on this project, and she worked closely with the client and the agency in the weeks leading up to the shoot day. This project, just like any other, had its own unique challenges, so we'll talk about some of those and also how we overcame them. First up for this one was to schedule a scout day where I could check out the course, start to plan out my shots, and take notes on where best to shoot and when, depending on lighting conditions and time of day. Whenever possible, I like to schedule a scout day, which really helps me get my head around at least some of what I'll be up against on the shoot day. And since this one took place outdoors, we'd be at the mercy of the weather. But going out on a scout helps me get a gauge on things like where the sun rises and sets, and it's also helpful as a DP to know what areas you'll have access to, which helps get the creative gears moving and allows you to start to visualize specific areas to focus in on that will allow you to get the best looking shots for the coverage you'll need to get. From there, I like to start building out and planning my shots based on that so we can work as efficiently and as quickly as possible, but also shoot in the best locations at the most optimum time of day. The shoot day for this project was going to be jam-packed, as there was a lot to get through and we only had one day to get it all done. We needed to not only shoot lots of different shots of the course and the players, but we also needed to capture aerials and lifestyle scenes at the clubhouse. As with all jobs that have a tight schedule, a lot of the heavy lifting gets done in the planning and pre-production phase to ensure that a project is a successful one. And without it, shoot days can quickly get off track and leave you scrambling to make up time to get it all done. For this job, I think there was a team of about 8 or 10 of us in total. I think even on smaller commercial productions like this one, clients can often underestimate the amount of pre-production work that's involved and required to ensure that nothing gets missed and that the actual shoot day goes smoothly. As I'm sure any of you watching this have experienced firsthand, this client was working under a particularly tight deadline and a budget on this project. Now, I always want to produce at a high level and provide the best work possible, but there's just times when certain aspects and variables of a project are just outside of your control. Because of that, there's only so much you can do, and it can be frustrating to have to shoot under conditions that don't allow you to fully deliver what you know you're capable of. So there's just going to be times and jobs like this one where you just have to roll with what you're dealt and do the best you can with what you have. And that was the case on this commercial. For starters, this wasn't the best time of year to shoot. I'm not sure what time constraints that the client may have been under on this one, but I do know that we couldn't push the shoot day to a more optimal season. And because of that, the course and the grass were far from being in the best shape. I would have preferred to have more control over when we could shoot, but that just wasn't an option on this one, since our hands were tied to just a single shoot day. So we couldn't be picky about shooting at the optimal times of day. And since we couldn't shoot at sunrise and sunset over the course of several days, we had to compromise. So the workaround was to get as many action shots and shots of the course earlier in the day, and then move to the lifestyle scenes at the clubhouse, which were around midday, in shade and under a covered patio. One challenge we struggled with was that there was no budget to hire proper talent for this shoot. And we've had clients over the years who are either unable or unwilling to hire talent for a shoot, and in my opinion, it almost always is noticeable and shows in the footage. But since this commercial would be airing on the Golf Channel, the people featured in it needed to be actual golfers, since anyone seeing it would be able to easily tell whether or not they knew what they were doing. So the best compromise to overcome that was using a handful of the client's employees who were all avid golfers. All in all, everything went smoothly despite having such a tight schedule, and we had a great team for this one, which goes a long way in helping make a challenging shoot like this a success. Thanks as always for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.